What's your take on it, Danny?
I think the referee making poor decisions, although it's not ideal, it's just about excusable because referees do. My concern is more that the people sat at Stockley Park in VAR don't overrule him and help him out, because they were pretty obvious, pretty black and white decisions as far as I'm concerned. I'm all for, and have been from day one this season, of letting play go more, not punishing every little touch and players falling over. We've talked about that on the show before, haven't we?
Yeah.
But there is a line, and I agree with... I was listening to the guys on Sky, and I thought Redknapp was right. I think Kane's reputation, who he is, helped him out there massively, and that's happened for years. That's just the way football is. Human nature is, I'm afraid. Same can happen the other way when a player is got a bad reputation and that goes before him. So
is there an England captain bias? Is that what you're saying?
Not just because he's captain, because he conducts himself the right way for a long period of time. He's not someone known to go around smashing people in tackles. It's just, he's got that reputation, hasn't he, of a nice guy and humble guy and doesn't do things bad. And yeah, maybe England captain. I remember Shearer getting away with one on Neil Lennon a few years ago. Do you remember that one?
I remember that one, yeah.
I think that's always happened. I thought Redknapp was right in making that point. I agree with him wholeheartedly. I think it was a red. I certainly understand the irritation and anger of Klopp and Liverpool in that Robertson then gets a red, because it's not as bad. Even though I think, they're either both reds or they're both yellows. You can't differentiate between the two.
No.
So they're both red for me. The penalty was... I really can't... I listened to Didi Aman, actually. I know Didi really well, and I was surprised this morning when he spoke about it not being a penalty. He thought Jota played it, well, to get the penalty. It was surprising that. Because whether he did or he didn't, the lad still came up in, ran into the back of him at a real speed and couldn't control himself and pushed him over.
Yeah.
It's a penalty. That one was... The penalty decision was more shocking to me than the lack of red. I just think they got the decisions really badly wrong. But it's not just that game. If it was this game in isolation, maybe it wouldn't be as big a deal. We were talking last week, wasn't it? It was the Man City penalty against Wolves we were talking about that, and then the Newcastle one yesterday. It seems bizarre that we made progress. Remember 2 weeks ago, I think it was, on the show, and you were saying to me, you must be pleased with how it's gone.
It's
and all of a sudden, we are back to...
No, we're not.
I don't think we are.
No, we're not.
I don't think we're anywhere near it, Danny, to be quite honest. I
Near
think
what?
VAR has sorted out this game very largely, took it by the scruff of the neck, and I think it's sorted out all the grey areas. But Simon, the fact of the matter is, Klopp, where is he going these days with the way he's behaving?
Look, I'm a massive admirer of Jurgen Klopp. I'm a massive admirer of his team. And I think he's brought more to the Premier League than he'll ever take away from it from a negative connotation. But I do think we have to look at the way that he's operating now. He's operating on a level which makes him omnipotent around every aspect of the technical area, whether it's bullying the opposition, bullying the fourth official, bullying the media. And I don't like to use the word bullying because it almost invokes dynamics of people being weaker. But he's very, very strong, and he's moving into a territory where I've not seen many managers operate. I know that I remember watching Graham Souness years ago operating in a technical area when he was manager of Blackburn Rovers against us, and I thought, whoa, that's a bit strong, some of the things you're saying. And I think Klopp is getting into a territory where his observations, his outlook, his disposition is invoking reactions of people like Arteta, where they feel that they need to get back into the situation where they can control what's going on, because Klopp is such a powerful influence. Now, I like it in one respect, but I sat there watching it yesterday, I thought to myself, you're getting a bit carried away with yourself. You're getting a little bit too much latitude. And I know this is going to bring a reaction from Liverpool fans saying, oh, hang on a second, you. But I just watch him and I think, you need to be reined in just a little bit. I just think you're pushing the envelope and you're asserting your personality over people really in a way that perhaps should be managed a little bit different by either those that push back.
Who's going to rein him in?
I want people to push back.
But who's going to rein him in?
If people push back, then what you get is the accusation that Arteta stepped out of his box and imbued the crowd with a degree of passion because he went toe-to-toe with Klopp. I think Klopp stands on the touchline, watching the opposition warming up, right? Gets into their heads, gets around people. Now, it's up to people to have the mental strength to do it, but when they do have the mental strength to do it, when they do have the application or the determination to meet fire with fire, you're going to see some instances, and then the media or other people are going to call it out and saying, what's going on here? This is unsightly, this is unedifying.
Is Klopp out of control, Danny?
Not out of control. He's pushing the envelope.
Is he being himself is the question. I mean, if you take yesterday and what you're talking about, Simon, is the overzealous remonstrations, if you like, or the apoplectic kind of with the tackle, the decision on the pen. Well, not apoplectic. It's probably exaggerating. He is passionate about his team and his players and the club. I think he's just being himself. And if that's evolved into something different than he was in the early stages of his Liverpool, fine. The success maybe brings that, but it's totally up to other people to stand their ground.
If he does this, and if it comes back at him, right, we're going to, and I don't have a problem with it, but I'm watching him grow and grow and grow and go and getting bolder and bolder and bolder and bolder. His chest is going further and further and further. Some would say, and I'd probably say if it was my manager, that's what I want. The flip side of that is that you're going to have a set of people that behave the same way. And Klopp, in my view,
a set of people?
Managers, players replicating their managers' behaviour in certain circumstances where they think they can have more to say than they possibly should, right? And Klopp is going to get a blowback, and people are going to look back at it and say, why are people behaving in this fashion? Why are people getting overzealous in a technical area? Because he gets away with things, in my view, that other managers don't get away with.
But you just said you would let him get away with it if you were in charge of him.
I wouldn't necessarily let him get away with it. I'd want to understand why he was behaving in that fashion, because I'm almost in a cul-de-sac, because I like it in some respects, but I think he's taking the mickey. I think he's getting away with stuff, and I want people to stand up to him.
Like all great leaders and great managers, there are times when they overstep the mark. Mourinho was the worst at it, wasn't he? Fergie overstepped the mark many times.
Yeah.
Fergie was, the way he went after some of the referees, and even quite cutely before and after, days before games and stuff.
But ask Simon, who's going to stop it? Who's going to rein him in, Danny? Nobody can rein him in.
The point is, great leadership is about having a successful team and finding a way to manage those players and egos the best way possible. And also part of great management and leadership is influencing teams that you play against.
I'm not talking about what he does to his players. I'm talking about he's able to superimpose his personality over referees and over the other technical areas. To some extent, more fool them. But we know that as a matter of course, a lot of these people are not alpha males in the same way that he is. So I suppose what I want is people to really step up and put Klopp a little bit back.
Well, do you think, and you've rightly so spoken very highly about Thomas Tuchel. Forget Chelsea's form at the moment, but the way he conducts himself, the way he speaks, he's an intelligent man, and I think he gets on with Klopp, to be honest. But you're not going to tell me Conte or Thomas Tuchel are the type of guys that are going to be intimidated by Klopp. They'll give as good as they get.
You would think so.
Probably right.
Certainly, as regards this Harry Kane England captain bias, interestingly, and I'll take us to the break with this, Keith Hackett in the Telegraph this morning, former referee, of course. Kane may be the England captain, but the reputation or the status of a player should never be taken into consideration. Was it here? I think it could have been. And if that's the case, the match referee has to be called into serious question. Jim, it will certainly add fuel to the fire from fans at the very least.
Jim, it is human nature for they're not robots. Over years and years of refereeing different players, you gain a reputation, and referees know they see it, they hear it, they watch it week in, week out. Players in the past, and we could name plenty who have got bad reputations, sometimes get punished for tackles they shouldn't, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If you behave most of the time, you're a good guy and you do right, you get away with more.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yes, it could be you, Simon. Behaves most of the time.
I used to get away with it. I used to get away with more when I was captain at Fulham than I did at any other team, because we used to have that respect thing before. You go in and see the refs, you shake their hand, you have 5 minutes chat with them, you get in their ear, you beat their mates. I used to get away with so much more.
That's dreadful and extremely manipulative. It's 10:30.
Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.